Fred wishes to begin part 2 with an apology.
Yeah, I don't mean to seem to be pandering, but I got myself out onto a limb in the last video and almost fell out of the tree when I called the McDowells the McLennans. McDowell, McLennan, that's close, isn't it? So I apologize, and Ian looks like he may even accept the apology. In the afternoon, we arrived in the city of Chongqing, and the weather was miserable. We were told that Chongqing, a city I'd never even heard of, had a population the same size as Canada. I mean, the entire nation of Canada. It is a gigantic city, and it was the capital of China during World War II, although I think they cheat a bit in the statistics by giving it a land area the same size as the nation of Austria.
In the afternoon, we visited the Chongqing Zoo and saw the panda bears.
In Toronto, you'd have to wait hours in line to even get near the panda bears. There was almost nobody there.
When we visited the zoo, the habitat was very beautiful, with natural trees and grasses.
That night we boarded one of the best ships on the Yangtze River, the Century Paragon. It has a huge open deck, a swimming pool, sauna, even a Tai Chi instructor. It has an open atrium over 6 floors. There's a view of it looking down, including one looking down right from the very top, the 6th floor. At night, the view of the Chongqing harbor from the ship's outdoor deck was magical. When the ship set sail in the morning, though, it was still miserable, foggy, couldn't hardly see anything. Our one excursion that day involved crossing this shaky bridge to see this Buddhist temple. Vicky said we were the first group to entirely decline to climb to the top, but we knew we'd see the same thing there as we did here. Fog. We did not see many beautiful temples or shrines in China, so I've taken the liberty of a 3-minute diversion to show you ones from other countries. If you choose not to see it, simply fast forward 3 minutes to 6:07. The Torii Gate is Shinto and indicates that you're entering into a sacred space.
This is the Fushimi Inari Shrine in Kyoto, Japan. This is a golden temple, also in Kyoto. This is a Buddhist temple.
This giant torii gate leads the way to both a park and a temple. Most Japanese adopt both Buddhism and Shintoism. They don't see a contradiction. One night when I couldn't sleep, I walked down to the Yasaka Shinto shrine in Kyoto.
Fred thought I wouldn't know that he was gone, but I was pretty sure I knew where he would be.
Except for a groundskeeper, I was the only person there. Over time, I could feel the tranquility and the reverential atmosphere, if you will. Regardless of religious questions, these places are designed to uplift the human spirit. Dawn came. And by the time I left, the same gate through which I entered in total darkness was now in broad daylight. Then the Haedong Yonggunsa Buddhist Temple in Busan, South Korea. Unlike most temples, this one is nestled into a cliff by the seaside. If you climb to the top, you'll get a marvelous view looking down. The next shot, a cropped one, is of just the grounds of the temple itself, and if you look closely towards the end, you'll see a little gold Buddha. Here is the pathway leading out to him, and here is that gold Buddha himself, perched right at the edge of the water. Lastly, the Lhasa Buddhist temple right in downtown Seoul, and I managed to capture a ceremony going on.
Now let's return to our cruise ship on the Yangtze River.
At the end of the first full day, the captain invited everyone to a party, a dance with the young crew members. It looks like Rob, Diane, and Marvin really cut the rug. We didn't cut the rug, we just cut out. The next day, the fog went higher into the mountains, so a lot of beautiful scenery was actually visible along the waterside. On the way to the Three Gorges Dam, we passed two of the gorges, the first being Kutang. That's it right there. It's characterized by the river becoming very narrow and the cliffs very high. Next, we approach the Wu Gorge. You can see how narrow it actually gets. After passing through the Wu Gorge, our boat took a sharp turn to go up the Shanong Stream, sometimes called the Goddess Stream. People function and lead lives here. Here you see a pagoda with a school right next to it. You have to walk a mile to get to the school. We did that too, but it wasn't straight up and down.
They tend to be in good shape.
When the ship could go no further, an army of sampans awaited us. Everyone found something to marvel at. I can almost hear Rob saying, "Now, this is what I'm talking about." The ride up the Goddess Stream was unlike anything I've ever experienced in my life. You almost feel like an explorer discovering something for the very first time. It's a functioning village area. Here is a fishing light installed by the local people. We rounded this bend and came to a raft of pontoons. Avalon, as usual, made sure that we got there first and got good seats. This fellow was there to greet us, and he was joined by our local guide, Iris, who grew up in this area.
There's the Michelson family posing with him.
They put on a wonderful dance and song for us. I thought I had recordings of it, but I can't find it. Some people claim to have footage of me dancing, but you know what? If they want to see it, they're going to have to produce it. The sampans began pulling out. The scenery on the way back did not seem like a repeat of what we'd already seen. Here are real sampans. The rocks are striated and almost seem to be fit together like bricks. We were some happy campers. We returned to the ship and set sail back for the Yangtze again. On the way, we passed an industrialized area, a city. I don't know what it was, though. As night approached, we gradually slowed down. As we approached the lock that would carry us down to the Three Gorges Dam. This is a barrier pushing us in the direction of the lock, and here we approach the lock itself, with only 2 ships ahead of us. Then only 1 ship, and then we pull in right behind that ship. I was determined to stay up and watch us go through the locks.
Not me.
And it's a good thing I didn't, because it took all night. There's 5 locks to go through. Here they are seen from the other side. The locks can take 2 ships at a time, and they go in both directions, up and down. In this scale model, the blue flashing lights represent the locks with the dam to the left of them. Here's a shot from above of the locks. The next is a close-up. Perhaps you can see both channels. This is an even bigger close-up. You can see the ships on the far side. They even have some landscaping in between. Back to the scale model. A bridge and a new city. The bridge leads to that new city, which is one of 2 built to rehouse the 1.5 million Chinese who were forcibly relocated by the building of the dam. I asked our guide what percentage of the people had objected to that forced relocation. He said maybe 1%, but especially the elderly who really miss their villages. For everyone else, including himself, it was an upgrade in standard of living. Here's the actual bridge leading to the actual village. People who see the forced relocation as unconscionable forget that floods had killed hundreds of thousands of people in the area. There wasn't much choice. Though flood control was the main purpose of the dam, the dam generates enormous amounts of hydroelectric power, which also benefits the people. Here you see the generators, 32 giant turbines that generate 22 megawatts of power. That's 5 times the US and Canadian sides of Niagara Falls combined. By the year 2030, China plans to have 30% of its power generated by hydroelectric from the Yangtze River. They're also the world's leading nuclear power. When you have 1.4 billion, you can't afford to pretend that windmills are going to do the job for you. We resumed our trip down the Yangtze River, and again, many beautiful sights appeared. We traveled through the last of the three gorges. I believe it's pronounced Jiling, though I'm not sure about that. You usually have to climb a lot of steps to get to a Buddhist temple. I suppose that's because they want you to work hard and appreciate coming closer to heaven, but I really doubt if there's many people willing to make this climb. We disembarked from the ship, said goodbye to the crew, and took a bus through Yichang. To me, Yichang demonstrates how China is making the transition from a third world country to a major power. We passed some really bombed out sites, some with people living in them, some totally uninhabitable. Also saw cranes and construction going on everywhere, and some fairly nice looking new sections of town. And then we arrived at the Zhangxia, hope I'm pronouncing that right, airport in Yichang, a very nice modern looking airport with a Disney store and a Three Gorges stone store with painted expensive stones from the Three Gorges area. And then we flew on to Shanghai. I know that several of our tour group were sick that day, so I'll spend a little extra time at it. We stayed at the luxurious but confusing Fairmont Peace Hotel in Shanghai. It's an old British colonial era hotel. Our hotel was right on the Bund. On our side of the river, the old colonial buildings, such as the Hong Kong and Shanghai Banking Corporation, which, unknown to moderners, played a nasty role during the Opium Wars fought against the Chinese in the 19th century. Perhaps that's why China has a superabundance of their own flag flying over the area today, just to let everybody know who's in control now. On the other side of the river, in Pudong, which simply means East River, are buildings built entirely by China and mostly in the last 20 years, a sign of Shanghai's tremendous growth. Our first stop in Shanghai was one of our shopping trips to a silk factory where we learned a tremendous amount, very interesting things about how silk is made.
This lady is hooking a silk rug, and this art and craft is likely to disappear because there are very few young people who are learning the craft. This lady is using shears to create a pattern in the hooked rug.
Here's silk wool for the weaving.
The price of silk rugs varies greatly depending on what percentage of the rug is actually pure silk and the intricacy of the pattern. Here are some expensive silk rugs.
Our group is taking a piece of silk about the size of a cotton batten ball and stretching it out to this. Speaking of silk, here is the Chinese ceremonial dress, the qipao. Next you see the Japanese ceremonial dress, the kimono, and lastly the Korean one, the hanbok. All three beautiful, all three Asian, and all three involving silk, but also all three very different, like the countries that they come from. Our next visit was to the wonderful Shanghai Museum that looks like it has handles on it. Of all the things that I regretted not having enough time for, this is the one I regretted the most. The next 5.5 minutes are all exhibits from this museum, so if it doesn't interest you, please forward to 2522. Thank you. It covered centuries of Chinese history in various areas like clothing.
These are Tibetan ceremonial dresses. Baby carriers. '19th century fishing canoes from Taiwan. Green gauze dress.
Men's salmon leather fishing outfit.
Ceremonial shoes and outfit dong.
Then you had furniture, mostly from the Ming Dynasty. This is a square table with chairs in red lacquer.
Throne chair with golden ivory panel.
Cabinets and bookshelves.
Narrow table with cloud, bat, and lotus design. Throne chair with carved 9 dragons design. The reception hall in ancient Chinese house.
Then you had the paintings, which were hard to photograph. This is Bamboo in the Wind.
This is buffalo on the farm.
Oh, give me a
Oh, Fred, stop it.
Fortunately, beauty prevails over silliness. Notice the poem. Painting and poetry went together. Next, porcelain. Blue and white flask with strap handles and floral design.
Polychrome ewer with gold decoration.
In the Ming and Qing dynasties, much of this was for export. I wonder what country this is going to.
Germany, of course. Blue and white rouleau vase.
Gourd-shaped vases.
Incense burners.
Cruettes, which I believe pour 2 different liquids.
Candy with floral sprays.
Enamel dish with a monogram.
Chinese imari.
Coat of arms on a plate for a royal European house.
Enameled tureen. Enameled platter with figure.
Enameled bottle with figures. We had about 2 minutes left when I discovered the bronze area, so I had to rush through it. Though they made this food pot as a concession to wash down the wine with, everything else is a wine vessel, men after my own heart. One evening we attended a gymnastics performance. We were told we would be able to photograph it, but were prevented from doing so. Since most of us slept through the Kung Fu performance early on in the trip, I am offering this short demonstration from Korea at the ritual changing of the guard ceremonies of Taekwondo. Next we went to Old Shanghai. It's a marketplace, but all the buildings are original old buildings, and it's quite beautiful. The pointy things pointing upward, by the way, show how rich you were. Like sticking your nose up in the air, I guess. Then we toured the spectacular gardens in Old Shanghai. Chinese gardens are not just gardens, they're homes. They're places where people live. But their philosophy is that man's habitation and nature should be beautifully intertwined. Here's indoors. In most of these places, there are no nails or glue in the wood. They are dovetailed to fit together. This is a door or an opening shaped like a jug, and this is a moon gate. Rock plays a very important role in Chinese, Japanese, and Korean gardens. A special type of porous rock is used, which I believe is only produced in one lake in all of China. Here are three very different rocks, and I don't know what that's about. The floors are made of pebbles and stones and in geometric shape. The ubiquitous koi. We exited the gardens, went back to Old Shanghai, and then left the area. Shanghai is a beautifully lit city. The highways are illuminated in blue, like this. And this is just a Radisson hotel. Our hotel offered a perfect view of the Bund from our 9th floor restaurant balcony. The communications tower. The old colonial side. A view of both sides. A final farewell to all of our friends.